Have you ever thought, I need to do something different or something needs to change? If that's you, you're probably in a place that you need to reinvent yourself. Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Cost. My co-host is somewhere running around, which is my daughter. So you'll see her make an appearance probably. Let's jump into this subject or this title of reinventing yourself. Someone said a long time ago that every 5 to 10 years, you usually reinvent yourself. I like that. I think it has to be something sooner. And here's why I think that. The world changes super fast. If some of you guys who are younger or older can remember when the internet first came out, it was like so weird. And then maybe like 2 years after, everything just started happening so fast. Different types of phones, different types of media, social media. There's so much stuff that happened. With reinventing ourselves, I think if we come to a place where we're checking in maybe every 3 months to see what's working, what's not working, what do we need to do different and better, I think we could look at life and be more satisfied. It doesn't mean life is going to be perfect. That's not what I'm trying to portray. I'm not trying to pitch you or sell you any type of fantasy that if you just reinvent yourself, life's going to be better. No, reinventing yourself comes with some struggle, right? Reinventing yourself comes with some uncertainty, right? We usually hear people scream, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, which is true, but it's not easy. My wife and I were talking and we mentioned when you start transforming, it doesn't feel good. I remember my years of competing in bodybuilding, and the number one thing that got people was the diet, right? You had to eat pretty much the same thing over and over again for weeks. It transformed you. You looked amazing come stage day and you look good going through the prep, but it didn't feel good. Like not eating a certain amount of calories, not having the sweets that you wanted, and then having to go do cardio and all that type of stuff. It did not feel good, but sticking to it transformed you. And most competition plans are usually around 12 to 16 weeks, which is that 3-month mark, that 4-month mark. I struggle with this at times because, as you might be, a creature of habit. You like things to be one way. You like things to stay one way. You like certainty. And if you're a person who is usually fighting being certain or fighting the uncertainty, you'll have a struggle with this, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't go and embrace it. So let's just look at reinventing ourselves in 3 ways. I'll give you some tips that have helped me and some things that I currently do as well. Co-host is here, so if you see her, jump in. She's here. The first area I would say for me would be spiritually. Coming back to the drawing board, if that's through journaling, if that's through praying and writing down what hasn't worked. That's usually the hardest one, because when we think of spiritual growth, we like to think that it's something that's just out there, lofty. We don't see any discipline. We just see think it and you shall achieve and things like that. With that being said, that's not the truth. So for spiritual, how I usually look at mine is what have I been doing to discipline myself in this area? The second thing I usually do is, what am I doing that's not working anymore? And I ask myself an honest question. Am I putting enough volume into this for it to actually work? A lot of times you're just not putting in a lot of volume for something to work. And lastly, I go to God. Hey, what's going on? Should I keep doing this? Should I stop this? Should I start this? And that usually leads me into what needs to happen for me spiritually. There's been times where God has allowed me to see that you're doing too much in this area, you need to change, or you're not doing enough in this area, you need to change. With that being said, it leads us into our next point. Baby, you got to stop. You got to move your head from that because we're recording. Okay. The second one was, the first one still with spiritual stuff is, who might I need to forgive? Who might I need to let go of? And I'm not saying go on a cutting off spree or something like that, but sometimes you might be holding on to the wrong people. You might be holding on to people who are done in this season of your life. You don't have to badmouth them. You don't have to go on social media and say, you don't need them, all that stuff. You can just allow it to be. My mother taught me this a long time ago. She mentioned, when you start just doing what God wants you to do and you start just going in your direction, you don't have to worry about cutting people off. They're going to just leave. You can treat them with respect and do that. The second area is physical. Assessing every 3 months. If your goal is to be losing weight and you're not losing weight in 3 months, you haven't been doing the work that's necessary for the goal. That's just what it is. You can make it however you can make it difficult. You can make it whatever you want, but you just haven't been doing the work. If you haven't been doing the work, then the result isn't yours. It's not gonna be yours. So with physical, how much am I moving? How much am I measuring, like, my success with eating, with resting, with sleeping, right? We all know we gotta move to lose weight. You gotta eat better to lose weight. You gotta sleep, right? And I like to add one, you gotta start stressing less. So physical is that. Something that has personally helped me out physically is at night, going to go play with my daughter, try to make sure I run a little bit with her more than I usually would. Skating, skateboarding, adding in a hobby that doesn't seem like work. But checking that every 3 months will allow you to stay on track and allow you to see, where did you drift? Eric Thomas said this, and it was so good. He was like, your plan has to supersede your feelings. Couldn't agree more with that, because if you're always in this place where, like, I don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to do that, you're never going to grow. There's nothing you're going to achieve in life that you're not going to come through seasons where you don't feel like doing it. That's just what it is. And then the last one is yes. Okay, a little later, okay? Let Daddy finish recording, okay? Co-host. Okay, I'll get you some right after. Okay. Co-host. Right. The next point is your mindset, or mentally. This is where all the battle is at, and your mind. You have to be willing, when we want to reinvent ourselves, to change a belief system that you might have had before. That belief system might not serve you in this new season. That belief system might be the thing that's hindering you. Something that used to hinder me with mindset stuff is when it came to money. I felt that if I kept giving discounts to people, that they were going to just value it. And it wasn't true. Like, I could have charged the amount I wanted to charge because I had to also put in work for them. With belief systems, a lot of the times we're given belief systems, or we inherit them based on our parents, or based on whoever may have raised us, or based on just friends that we hung around. We had this belief system. I had a belief system a long time ago that in order to get someone to understand you, you had to understand me. It wasn't actually me. It was something I saw with somebody. To get someone to understand them, they had to do something obnoxious or something crazy. That's what kids do. Like, kids, when they want to be understood, they don't have languaging, so they just go nuts. With that being said, it usually ends up being a tantrum. But the belief system to that person was literally, people aren't going to just listen to me if I just talk. I have to act out. I have to show my behind. And it wasn't true. With reinventing yourselves, I want to encourage you to realize it's not an easy task, but it's a worthy task. If you are not changing year after year, something is wrong. If you're in the same place in an area of your life year after year, you're stuck. I've been there. There's areas where I have to get help with. There's areas where I have to make sure that people help me to understand that, hey, you've been in this rut for a while. It's time to come out. You've been thinking like this for a long time. It's time to come out. Yes, coach. Okay, give me a second. So to wrap all that up, changing, reinventing yourself is not easy, but it's worth it. Because you get to experience who you are in a different season in a better way if you're willing to reinvent yourselves. This is a way that I'm going to do my assessing this this next time coming up, I'm going to ask my close friends to hold me accountable in certain areas that I'm really, really uncomfortable in. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to become better as a person in these areas. And I know if I publicly put it out to my close friends, they'll not only hold me accountable, but they'll probably help me get there a lot easier and without a lot of bruises and scars. May have some, may get some, but they'll help me out a whole lot. So let me know in the comments, what are you going to do to reinvent yourself? And as always, if you guys need coaching, I do life coaching that helps you actually get unstuck and move forward, right? The sessions are made to help you see, where am I stuck? What do I need to do? How do we get there? And we get you there. www.drewcost.com. If that's all, as they would say in the church, get unstuck, guys. Go be great.